Hello everyone. Sorry, I don't know why I clicked stop streaming. I must have just submitted a still screen. Welcome everyone. Welcome to class. I will start streaming in a second. I'm just letting everyone know. So how is everybody doing today? Hello Maggie. Hello Benny. Hello Serge. How are you guys? Hi Sakasma. How are you all doing today? Okay, so we have a selection of two, and I'm going to try my best to do both. I'll start with this one since it's a study, and that should go pretty quickly, and then we'll finish off with the illustration. Tired? Yeah, that kind of Thursday fatigue. I completely feel you. Class has really kicked my bum today. And then there's just that silly little injury I had that's been kind of not letting me live life normally. So it was kind of a bad idea to stack so many classes in one day, but yeah, hopefully it's different soon. It's always something with me, isn't it? Like always. I miss streaming. I miss doing after hour streams. But October was kind of busy. Benny, that look. Okay, so let's get started. If you want to get your work critiqued, it's super, super easy to get your work critiqued. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about how, what it's like getting critiqued. So you send in your work, you go to istebrak.com and click on the subreddit icon right here, or my Discord. This is the public Discord. There's also a private one. That's just for patrons. It's for apprentices. They get homework, assignments, all that good stuff. But if you'd like to get your work critiqued, these are the two links you can use at the top right corner. I've never changed them over the years so that the videos stay consistent, well, at least the ones where this website was live. And I have noticed a little bit of for some of you, after you get critiqued, both in public and private classes, that it's a little bit like, it hurts, it's like a damage to your ego, damage to your motivation to get a critique. That momentary disappointment you feel in yourself after you get a critique is temporary. And it really is not something that has any real say in whether or not that critique, the validity of that critique. So when I critique, you should know that you're in, hands that don't want to insult you, hands that don't want to put you through some kind of difficulty, that I'm genuinely here to teach you guys. But some of you guys, and not that any one person did this, but there has been kind of like a pattern in the last couple of months to a year where I provide a critique and it just really crushes a person. Even though it's my critique and you know that it's not really based on insult, I don't really make a joke out of it. Maybe a couple jokes, but that was in the past. I'm kidding. I don't make jokes out of students' work. But I think my theory is that because AI has been kind of taking over the artist's self-esteem and it's just there now, I'm starting to think that people not taking my critiques well, more than, the past. And there was that other dark time in the past where I was just coming out and people really didn't like a girl critiquing their work. But eventually everyone just got used to my voice. But now there's like this new resurgence of insecurity while getting a critique, and I think it's AI related. Um, and whatever the cause may be for that reaction that you have when getting critiqued, whatever the cause, you should know that a critique is educational. And being able to take critique, being able to understand and dissect your mistake with the help of another, that's something you should be grateful for, because it would just be you versus that mistake. You have to analyze it on your own. So there is that, lack of gratitude when someone has an attitude about getting a critique, because I really am here just to educate you guys. I don't really see this as like a way to capitalize on people or capitalize on anything. Um, so yeah, I do sell courses and stuff, but it's not all about that for me. And that's one, just the fact that you're getting help, which should go a long way mentally to allowing me to complete the critique. And then there is the idea that, hey, if I listen to this person's critique, there's a possibility that I'll never make that mistake again. And the less mistakes that you make, like that, the more your skill shines, the more your skill elevates. Um, so what kind of mistake are we talking about here? It could be a mistake. All the mistakes that I point out are usually fundamental mistakes. So if you have an ego attached to your knowledge of fundamentals, if you like compare yourself or associate your self-worth with how many fundamentals you've memorized, all of that stuff, it's not a good mix. That's not a nice cocktail. You should not associate your self-worth, self-love, the healthy amount of ego with your skill, because your skill is temporary. It's like sticking to one trend and one trend only for the rest of your life, and all your clothes are always in that trend. And even though time has passed, but you're still in that one trend. And I'm not talking about like people who have like, fashion knowledge. I'm talking about, just think of it as a temporary trend, your current skill. And you couldn't stay a noob if you wanted to. That's just not how the brain works. The human brain has this sort of, dignity to it. It has this presence wherever you go. It has a mind of its own, it has a presence of its own. It's going to learn whether you want it to or not. So you're never going to stay a noob. You can't if you tried. And so like, associating your ego with that, or self-worth, or, you feel like really down after the critique I give, to the point where you're like almost like, it feels like there's an aggression there towards me. I promise you that you're being mad about something that isn't even permanent. You're being mad about something that's just all in your head. This skill that you have that I've critiqued is something that will pass. It's something that you don't get to keep. You get past it, and then you get, really good. So the problem is there's that human aspect. There's a human aspect to all skill building and skill learning. And I don't, it's childish in a way. Like, when I say childish, I mean the human, even when they are 80 years old, the human condition has a sense of childishness to it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a permanent childhood we all have, because it's just our weakness and our presence and how we are and how we're built. We just have this childish way about us, even into old age. And so I completely understand when someone tells you you did something wrong. There's just that initial, we all have it, a kind of initial response, that initial ego response. But learn to control that, because the only thing that's stopping you from getting better is that little ego that you have left over, or that ego that you have that's stopping you from realizing this isn't a personal attack when I critique people. It's a hand outstretched to pull you from the mud. And I don't like talking big about myself. I don't like making myself out to be some kind of savior. But if, I would be, and if I was in the position, if the spots were switched, I'd have the same reaction if I was your age, especially back then. So I completely understand, but I'd like to kind of hijack the narrative in your head just a little bit, if I may, and just remind you, I'm literally helping you right now. There's nothing else I'm doing. Through bad health, bad days, I still try to show up to Critique Hour and critique people who I don't know, critique their art and apply my knowledge to it. So if you find that there is this combative reaction spurring up inside of you, just take a moment and just talk to it and say, this was a helpful critique. This was somebody trying to show me something that I may not have known before. And every once in a while, I kind of have to remind you guys of that, and maybe you guys can talk amongst yourselves and also remind each other of that this is an educational community. It's always constructive criticism. It's always an attempt to help you add more tools in your mind. Let's move on for today. So for this piece, you're on the right track. But let me show you some of the byways and extra streets you missed on your way to the finish line. So when we think about working with reference, we also must consider that the artist's mind is seeing a lot of stuff at the same time. So you guys know this trick: interrupt your vantage point, interrupt it. Don't show yourself everything. What am I looking for here? Filter, pixelate, mosaic. Okay, when we add this filter, we interrupt our ability to see the super detail, the extreme detail. Like for instance, what's happening? What have we lost by pixelating? Well, we can't see the lash lines. We can't see sharp edges. We just see zones. We can't see the nostril edge. We can't see much anymore. We just see the zones. So let's pretend that this completion level or this lack of detail is where you are, but like a little bit behind where you are right now in completion. So where you are right now, you've got a lot of stuff done already. You've got the edges, you've got the lashes. So you're already at the lashes, right? You're already at that stage. But where is this? You have some, but let's squint our eyes together, all of us right now, and look at the screen. There's almost a bridge here. These hidden midtones, see this bridge right here? I can paint more of it on to the reference, and the reference wouldn't look weird because it's one of those that's already present. If I put the same amount of paint right here, oh yeah, something's weird. Why does she have a random divot in the middle of her cheek? So this is a clear sign that this is an already established shadow drop, that any more shadow added on top in small degrees would just camouflage, because this is already making sense, even in your mind's eye, to expect shadow here. But what you've done is you have completely skipped that. The shadow here is way too sharp. So the first thing that we need to do is fix that shadow. Okay, so the shadow here is way too sharp. That means that we need to smudge it out. So I know I say provide more edges than you need so that the painting is done by the time you're blending. But that doesn't mean that, you know, we're completely going to skip the blending zones. So if in my masterclass, okay, I don't know if I can pull it up now. I can just give you guys a sneak peek. I actually don't know if it's on this computer. In my I'll just describe it. In my masterclass, there is this list that I have that moves along with the video. In the list, I have a blend and do not blend list. After you've fully blocked the face, there are areas you should not blend because obviously they're edges, they're areas that are supposed to be sharp, they're constructural, they're structural, they're rigid, they're mechanical edges like the eyes, the shifts in the temple, the socket line. Those are all structural, mechanical, moving parts of the face, the nostril, the mouth. These all need to stay rigid. The places where you are supposed to blend, one of the first places, moving from top down, obviously we blend the forehead because it's very dome-like. The next place is the inner eyebrow. It is one of the most important, please blend zones. Blend zone, blend here, land here. You know those guys that help airplanes land? This is, you imagine just one guy standing here with those two lights and he's waving them around. He's telling you land here, land your smudging brush here, and blend here. Just because you see a sharp edge, perceive a sharp edge. Remember, you're perceiving more than you're seeing. What does that mean? So to perceive, it's I before E except after C, right? Or is it perceive? I don't know. C, is it I before E except after C? Whatever. There's perceiving and there's seeing. All right, what you perceive is what you like think you see. It's what you imagine should be there, and then actually seeing something, like it's just seeing it objectively. Like there's no opinion in your mind about what it should be when on your paper, because it's obvious, you know, what you saw and what you perceived. You perceived a sharp edge here because you saw a black end. So you are like on the lookout for anything that is dark and anything that is black. So what does that sound like to you? And I'm going to let you guys actually guess this. Anything where there's a dark and then there's an end to the dark, or there's a dark line. Look at that Terminator left over. What is that a sign of? Left over what? I'm going to let you guys say the word, the holy mantra of my classes. I'm literally going to wait because this is something you guys should know. Line dependence. Thank you. So when you're reliant on lines, you see them, you look out for them. You're always on the lookout for them because that's how you started drawing. You started drawing with outlining stuff and this and that, and outlining all kinds of stuff. And when you were a kid, you're sketching your favorite cartoons and you were, you know, outlining. For me, it was Powerpuff Girls, if I remember how to draw them. That's how you learned. That's how you learned. So that's why this artist today completely skipped the blending. Again, there are blending zones and there are non-blending zones, and they're very important, and you're studying a portrait. So what does all this mean? It means that you need to know where the blending and the non-blending zones are. They're both just as important to each other. And I think that's the biggest mistake this artist made. Because if we were to get rid of the Terminator, let's get rid of the Terminator using lighten. All right, let's get rid of the Terminator. I'm completely getting rid of it. Look at how that Terminator line blends right in with the mid-tone that's traveling all the way around. And now squint your eyes. Squint your eyes, everybody. Just almost close your eyes and look at this character. I'll use red to show you where to land. All right, right here. What do your squinted eyes tell you? That this whole area is completely blended out. Use the same effect here on the nose. Oh yeah, that's not blended. That's the nostril. Squinting your eyes makes it so you're no longer perceiving, you are seeing now. Write that back to me. The perceiving, the deception happens in the details. That's where you start getting deceived by your reference. Do not be deceived, okay? Do not be deceived by your reference. The details deceive. Details equals deceive. I before E. Except somebody help me out here. English lit my ass. So details deceive you. Interrupt the details so you can no longer be deceived. All right? And so when we take this and we interrupt the detail by pixelizing, blending, whatever you want, just interrupt it. Interrupt the details. All of a sudden, look at that. We can see a lot of transitional values. We don't even get to the brights yet. And it explains why this looked a little more rigid, like it was made out of some other material, or badly sculpted, you know, those really overly rigid sculptures that don't quite have enough human in them, which is the fat deposit. And that was the problem with your piece. So I could have, you know, quickly just said, okay, you need to blend here. But I need to also talk to your brain and show you you're being deceived right now by line dependence, by that dark system that entraps all of artists. And it's just how it works. If you're going to learn a language, you're going to learn symbols. Remember a long time ago, I talked to you guys about this. When I first started really researching it on my own, the reason why I even, you know, came up with this is because I used to take psychoanalysis in school, in uni, and we were talking about how a child learns language. So it stuck in my mind as I started to move into teaching, and started to teach art. And I was like, damn, why are people always seeing lines in everything? Why am I always drawn to putting way more black than I need to? And then I put two and two together, and I kind of just had this epiphany moment, and I realized it's the language. It's the language that we learned initially. It's the doodles we used when we were kids. It's all of that stuff that is constantly like working against us in the background. That's it. That's just how it is. And if it was my if it was up to me, I'd completely get the whole education system and art reformed so that kindergartners are not taught this type of, you know, symbol reliance. They're taught this stuff early. Imagine the amazing artists and skill that would just be inherent in all of us if we didn't have that symbol reliance taught to us. It's literally built into us, unfortunately. So now that I have taken care, I've saw the midtones. I stopped the deception. I used counterspell and all the deception, and now I'm no longer deceived. I used the veil of clarity, and I now I can turn off the veil of clarity, which is just filter on mosaic. And now I can go back to the detail. Now I can do this again. Let me undo my changes on the reference. And so now we have this more accurate representation of what's happening in the form. Now my skill range popped up to, like, you know, I don't know, I'm from like, let's be honest with each other. This is like early intermediate, I would say. The edges are middle intermediate to late intermediate, great edges, but the blending is early intermediate, meaning you're just out of beginner into intermediate. You're not sure how to blend. Your blending is unsophisticated. It's not going to stay unsophisticated, meaning it's not going to stay in this low point. It will become more advanced, which is the point of this critique, to help you advance your ability to blend, to be more open to, you know, interrupting your line dependence. But this skill jump is huge because it's an understanding jump. It's not just a skill jump based off, oh, just use this tool more and you'll do better. There is no particular tool or trick that could be associated with this big a jump in your skill. This jump in your skill comes from that fundamental understanding that you are fighting against line dependence always, and an awareness that as important as it is not to blend edges, it is just as important as to blend some, because you lose the human read, you lose the fat, the muscle, you lose all those things that make a human feel like a human when you don't know where these blending zones are. Because there are different degrees of blending. There's a spectrum of blending here. The blendation spectrum, let's talk about it. So this blended section, actually let me widen it. You know, let's take it out and put it here. And this blended section, it's a little bigger. Let's take it out and put it here. And let's overlap those two. This is way wider a blending range. Do you see that? Than this one. So there's like different degrees of blending. There's like a different heavier hand. Do you understand what I'm saying, you guys? I'm holding your head right now and I'm begging you to understand me. This is a sharp blend. This is a very wide blend. Let's look at the nostril edge right here, the tip of the nose. All right, let's bring that up there. That's really sharp. Look at that. We're jumping into white. So compare that. Dart your eyes. I am controlling your eyes right now. Look at this. Barely blended. Compare it to this. And then compare it to this. For this, let me just like, let me make it approximately the same size as the other ones. God damn it. Okay. Okay, do you see those degrees of blending? That's a lot of blending. Over here, it's a wide range compared to these. The light is encroaching. The edge is sharper. and then look at this edge right here. Also, very, very, what's going on here? Also very, very, very short range of blending. There's no width to this blendation. So what happened? This is a spectrum. This is on a spectrum. This is sharp. This is sharp. And this is wide, or what's the opposite of sharp? This is soft. Wide. It's transparent, or it's more translucent. Okay, this is sharp. This is a blocking brush. This is a higher contrast. Contrast. All right. Yeah, blunt. There you go. Blunt, sharp. So this, being able to pull this wide range and being like your eyes are skilled enough, you know what you're looking at. You can manage and handle the blending levels according to the fat pockets and the types of fat pockets. That's all sophisticated blending. This is all the spectrum, okay? And different types of parts of the face, different textures around the world, different objects, different types of light scenarios require a different type of blending. We talk a lot about edges and blocking. I know, because edges and blocking are like the key and the keyhole for geometry. We need to know where the edge is. Edges and the blocking brush is the #1 weapon to use against line dependence. All right, this is your blocking brush. This is the sword handle. And this is line dependence. It's all evil, right? And it really wants to mess up all your drawings and make you draw every individual hair pixel and leave an outline around everything that you draw. And not that lines are horrible, but they make your paintings you don't want to be line dependent with muddy. They make everything stiff because you're too busy outlining, so you forgot about being, there's so many things that line dependence sabotages. This is your #1 enemy against it, but that doesn't mean that we're completely forgotten about the blending brush. The blending brush is, once there's a safe resistance or a safe immunization against line dependence, you can start bringing in a safe amount of blending. Overblending is a whole other disease. Overblending is like this slothy, it's like it kills with just toxicity. It's not really evil and planning against you like line dependence. It's more like a slow acting disease and it just makes everybody lazy. Overblending is a whole other monster. But let's just for a second assume, okay, this artist is not, I don't have to assume it. This artist is not in danger of overblending for sure. So now what are they in danger of? They're in danger of overblocking. They've overblocked. And that's the problem here, is that these have all been overblocked, and they don't really make any sense. And there's all these hidden midtones because this person is so oriented towards the sharpness, is so ready to see sharp more than they see light because of a background in line dependence, that they're really not seeing these beautiful subtle changes in the forehead. They're not seeing the subtle changes in the cheek, around the nose. Do you see this? I want you guys to squint again. Do you see this shadow here? I'm going to exaggerate it. There's a shadow right there along the cheek. Oops. Do you guys see that? It's barely there, so we're going to try to introduce it. There's all these hidden midtones. Hidden midtones, they are another little way to measure the skill of a student I'm diagnosing. So the eye socket, that's always going to be what I go to straight to see if a student can pull off an eye socket. They got pretty good command over their form and structure, but if they know how to see those nearly invisible midtone shifts, those hidden zones, well, that's an advanced student. They are way outside of intermediate now. They are well into their skill. They can start building illustrations now. They are ready. They know pretty much, they have all the tools. They know pretty much all they need to know to start building worlds. Okay, so that's my diagnosis for this student here, is you're not seeing your midtones. You are too bent on building the blocking, and then you stop. You stop, and then that's where the confusion happens, because where's the rest of the painting? I did all the blocking. I have some contrast. Why doesn't it look right? Why doesn't it feel right? That's because you're not literate in blending yet. All right, you have to be just as literate in blending as you are in blocking. And an affinity for blocking more than blending is a sign that there is some leftover line dependence. And if you think, oh no, she said the line dependence thing, shame on me. Everyone has line dependence. I have line dependence. We all have an amount of it because of the way we learn our language and the way we were brought up in school, the way we were invited to paint in the lines, the way we were not taught about, an awareness of how things actually look. We were taught to, perceive more than see. We were not taught to see these details. And so that's the problem. We all have it. And once you know, okay, I am a victim of the of of the limited education of my time. It's okay. I have line dependence now. Let's correct it. As soon as you know that, aware of it, you've stepped over that line, you now are ready to take what measures you need to limit its effect on your skill level and on your illustrations. And this is one of the biggest effects that you have is that you're hyper vigilant with your edges, or your blending, is not present enough, or there is just this, general blindness or illiteracy with the midtones. The midtones are just, they don't even exist. They're just like a whisper to some students. They don't realize the meat of the drawing is all in the midtones. That's the data, that's the information, that's the real scoop, is the midtones and where they exist, because those are the subtle changes of an advanced illustration that you're sensing but you're not seeing. And most of the time you guys sense there's something wrong with my painting. I just don't know what it is, but you just don't have the tools or the literacy to pinpoint it. And so that's where a critique comes in, and someone else will come in and give you a quick look. And that's why art cannot be developed in a vacuum. You need a community, because we're all pretty much addicts, line addicts, recovering together. So I'm just doing a little bit more work here, just around the forehead, just to show there's so much work in the forehead when painting a portrait that's just forgotten about. And I've touched on this before in one of the shorts I made. Or one of the classes I've held as well, is that midtones are hidden. And actually this is one of the moments where my head injury is showing itself. I completely forgot what I was talking about just now. It's gone. I have no idea the point I was about to make 2 minutes ago. This has been happening all day. It's been happening for months. I'm trying so hard to remember it. It's gone. It's gone. Damn it. I was making a good point. It's gone. It's gone. If you guys can help me out, that'd be great. But yeah, unfortunately, there it is. Then I'm just going to block underneath hidden midtones of the forehead. Is that what I was trying to say? It's gone. It's gone. Oh no, I don't need dementia. So we're here and we're doing we're doing this. And so I'm just starting to bring in some of the highlights here. And then just trying to raise up the those highest peaks of the forehead. Where's my brush now? Okay, just trying to raise up the highest peaks of the forehead using a very gentle blocking brush, because there are still zones. I don't want to just make a big muddy mess. And the smudging brush will take care of it. If you're going to use soft brush and use smudging brush, that's kind of overkill. Use soft brush and then follow it with a quick blocker, or use blocking and follow it with some smudge. Soft and smudge, worked with in succession or used in succession can be a little bit overkill. You end up, kind of crossing into maybe an overblended look. Be very careful of the area of effect, the AOE damage of a blending tool of any kind. It can cause damage to surrounding areas or a friendly fire. I'm so curious about what that point was I was trying to make. So curious. And then I'm just building up this block here. So in my masterclass, which I highly recommend for this student here, I have a do not blend list and a blend list. I have a blocking for highlights list and a blocking for shadows list. This list is universal. This list is something applicable to all different faces. Okay. And so if you learn this particular list, you will always be on the lookout for these zones. And all of a sudden, this skill jump will be just insane. It'll be just take a couple months, and all of a sudden your images are evolving, they're elevating. Come on, Smudge Brush, come on, work with me. And you just start to see a real change, a real difference. Your images look like a beautiful balance of organic and mechanical, which is what a face is. We are androids. We are organic computers that have really, really great UI. Okay. And I'm just trying to get rid of that general beard look. She does have a literal beard. There's a beard there, a beard shadow. You can see it right there. But I just want to slowly, radially build up all of this. And all this terminology you hear me use is all found in my masterclass if that's something you want to use. Okay. Even the lip area could use a bit of a blend. Sometimes a very tight blend can be interpreted as a blur. So you can use the blur tool if you want. Photoshop's blur tool is really maxed out. I don't know why. It doesn't have a lot of range to it, but I'm just going to use that for that upper lip. And then I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And I think your shadow for the face is just generally too dark. So I'm just going to get lighten. And I'm going to just lighten the shadow in one fell swoop. And lighten some of the shadow of the nose in just one area. And that's enough of a jump for now. There is that soft blended out highlight of the chin. So let me quickly lower my opacity and start building it up. Okay, and something about the shorts classes you did and about the midtones. Yeah. That's what I was about to say. What was I saying? The midtones are the most. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck was I gonna say. And so I'm just adding this highlighter here, and you can see the difference that made for that shadow value. And then you can just keep building up in a new layer. This was all in a new layer, so you can just keep building up your layers. There doesn't need to be this in one layer where you're tackling everything. Like, you can build up your layers. You can take your time. There's no timer. And let me once and for all show you guys that and tell you guys that you have my permission to never time yourself for the rest of your life when drawing. Okay? Everybody agree? All 27 of you here? Everybody, you have my permission to never worry about how long it takes for you to finish an illustration, because it will speed up organically on its own. Your process will speed up. But you don't need to time yourself, because the more you time yourself, the less time you give yourself to learn this stuff. The more methodical, the slower you are, the more intentional you are with your brushstrokes, the more you're going to see that there's more to learn in the slower process, the untimed process. And the more you're taking in, If you're timing yourself and you're still middle intermediate, you're beginner, and you're timing yourself, I never time my students. In the decade plus time I've spent teaching this skill, never have I, and all my students improve, never have I once timed my student. Maybe like for timed gesture sketch, but those are just for fun. Timing is something that adds like a gamer feel to the process, but there's nothing to learn there. Just because a sketch looks like it was made fast doesn't mean that it was actually made fast. Those quick sketches, figure sketches, could have been done in an hour, but they look fast because the energy of the illustration is there. Do not worry about cast time. Do not worry about time at all, okay, guys? Just focus on the skill. Take your time, layer by layer. If it takes 16 hours to paint a face, first of all, your brain isn't going to take 16 hours again. Not if you tried. The brain learns. The brain is there watching everything you do. It gets faster and faster at each time because it builds hard wires for that task that it uses next time. It's not stabbing around in the dark like it was that first time. It left a trail of breadcrumbs. Hey, they're asking for the same task. Let me follow the same route I took last time. And that route gets cleaner and cleaner and better paved, and that's how a master is created. Do not time yourselves. Take your time with it, and learn those basics. Learn the basics of when to blend, when not to blend, and that's how that skill will become solidified. Nothing in nature is nothing ever learned is learned well quickly. Everything takes time. So follow that type of timeline, the slow one, the one that you can really enjoy yourself. This day and age, it's so hard to do because that quickness and everything is so expected out of everyone. Everyone's been infected with it, this rush, So just slow down, and I should take my own advice sometime. And let's learn. And so I'm just building up radially the brow bone. I'm also sneaking a little bit of my own thoughts and feelings into this illustration. And what else? The nose needs a little bit more contrast. And then we'll take one final look at the before and after. And then we have time for one more. So I started a bit late today. So we have this little nasal dimple. And this little kind of like bellowing, kind of ballooning that happens right above the nostrils sometimes. That also catches a little bit of light. Hidden midtones are really, really important. Oh, what was that thing I was going to say? God, it's completely gone into the void now. I'm also going to use the blending brush. The blurring brush there. The blurring brush is like blending, but on a really, really tight space. And so this is so sharp, but it's still blended. So a sharp surface that's blended on the face is actually blurred. It's just too sharp to be blended. It's not going to work out for you. You're just going to undo the edge. So just use the blur tool or anything equivalent in another painting software. I only use Photoshop for all those who are curious. I only use Photoshop because it's so universal. Its tools are pretty much what every program is copying. So I might as well just stick to it. And just, if I use one of those newer ones, they're a little bit, first of all, I have to learn them, but they're a little less universal. So Photoshop has kind of become the standard or gold standard for tools available to visual artists, digital artists. That's why I continue using it, because I know there's a blending tool. I know there's a blur tool on these newer softwares. All right, let's take a look at the before and after. There's a bit more I'd love to touch on. Actually, there's one more thing I have to do. I can't allow myself to skip this part. So it's the other side of the cheek. And I'm really letting the radial shades take over. I'm letting that work because there is like a little edge. And I did this on a separate layer so I could easily block, taking my time. I'm not rushing. I'm letting the layers pile up. Even radial shading is a test of your patience. See, that was a really important shadow. I mean, it was important to me. And symmetry is extremely important to me. And then so we have the before and after. And that, my friend, is the difference in your skill. Where you are right now is early, intermediate, middle intermediate, but I'm a little more strict with my what I refer to as advanced. Once you've hit intermediate, you can be hired. Intermediate is that level where like you can ask someone to pay for your skill. So don't see intermediate as some kind of insult. When you're out of beginner, you're golden. You're ready. So being advanced, that's like a PhD, that's like what I did myself with portraits. I dedicated 10 solid years to perfecting my portraits, because I knew if I perfected that, I could paint anything else. And that paid off. But you don't have to hit that. I mean, you don't have to go for that kind of PhD in one particular subject. But but if you're an intermediate, you should be grateful. Yours is paying off. But I'm just a little more strict. So before, after. One of them looks organic, familiar, and the other looks just a little bit on the rigid side, unblended, and a little bit blocky, but in like the bad way, meaning that there's just some awkward end to a lot of these areas of detail. Complete shadow drop around the nose, inconsistent with the rest of the face. The nose isn't that dark in the reference. And here we feel a little bit more of that softness that we associate with feminine faces. But, you know, we've stayed true to the reference. And there are a lot more of these hidden midtones, but at the end of the day, and this goes for all fields of thought, all schools of study, if you zoom out just enough, you understand a subject. It kind of understands it for you. It works itself out in your head. So if we zoom out of the reference just enough, it's no longer blurring, like we've really, really pushed ourselves out. And we look at the cheek, is it not just a sphere? Is it not just a big blob? Right? Is that not all it is at the end of the day? Just one of those very simple form studies. And so if you do more of these form studies, underblending, overblending, overblocking, underblocking, that's all just a thing of the past. You never have to worry about that ever again. You never have to deal with that kind of drudgery of fighting your line dependence ever again, because you taught yourself a new language, and that's the language of form. So if you do these form studies and you do those radial studies and all of that, you start to see these hidden midtones are not hidden to you anymore. You are sharp, you are ready, you are good to go. You can build literally any structure because you see the building blocks that created it. And you understand how to elevate your shadows, where to raise them, and how to look out for these surface changes. Right? And so if you study forms, you'll never forget to blend. You'll never forget to block. You'll know exactly what to do, what to prioritize. Those are the things that matter for your skill. So before, after, before, after. This jump on the skill spectrum was early, intermediate. Okay, so, well, where's my brush? Okay, so let's imagine this, the skill spectrum. This is master. And this is complete beginner. I hate this. I don't like talking about this because it creates struggle in the student's mind. They worry too much about where they are. You just need to remember something, even if you're not drawing, something is always pushing you. The more studies you do, the faster you'll push yourself through. But just remember, even if you don't draw for 4 months and you come back to it, you realize you were not where you saved last. The game kept playing and leveling itself up, so your skill kept going forward. Even if you're not drawing, your skill, and I know all of you have experienced this, you've all taken a break from art and come back to it and you're like, damn, why am I so good? You get that kind of feeling, damn, why am I doing this so much better than I did last time? That's just your brain doing the brain thing. It's just amazing. Our tool, this amazing tool, constantly at our disposal. But anyway, so this beginner, this before, this before here was somewhere between, early, intermediate, closer, and this after bumped you up like tons of time. So if you learn this skill and learn how to blend, redo the corrections. This is your homework, okay, student? Sorry, I don't memorize the names, all of the names that are sent in for critique. Kind of just grab them and go. Your homework is to do corrections. All right, go back and reproduce everything I did on this. All right, copy what I did. That's how you solidify it, catch it in the Pokeball. And then the second thing you do is recreate it. Do another study where you are looking for those hidden midtone areas, all these hidden blending points. And mentally, like, so redo or recreate or secondary attempt, new attempt. And then think about it. Think about go on a walk, wear a turtleneck, put your hands in the, coat pocket, walk around in the forest and reflect a little bit. Am I line dependent? Is there anything left in me that relies on lines? Do something like that where you're just kicking some leaves, thinking, maybe there's some music playing, and do some deep reflection. All right, reflect on where you are on this on in this spectrum, and where are you with the blending? Why do you overblend? What's left? Why couldn't you see these midtones? All right. The turtleneck is really important. um Let me see if there's any questions in here. Intentional growth takes, yeah, exactly. We're hyper fixated on the end results and don't enjoy the process. Yes, we're all ready to post it on Instagram. Oh man, I barely use Instagram anymore, and it has changed the way I draw because I'm no longer worried about when I post it and how many likes it'll get. Wow, that's completely gone. And now I just draw to draw, and my paintings are better than they used to be, and they ever were. I have more personal work because I'm drawing for the right reasons now. So be very careful of the overall dark hand. I remember Nosferatu in the movie when he stretches his hand out over the town. That's social media, okay? And it's ruining your life. And that's what we're dealing with in our age. Cigarettes is what our parents dealt with. Social media is what we deal with in our generation. Be aware of that going forward. All right. So for this piece, I don't have time, obviously, to do an overhaul change. Maybe next time I'll jump into it, but I need to give you some quick pointers. This is all melted together. There's no real value change discerning middle ground, foreground, background. There's nothing. The background smoke is doing exactly what the foreground smoke is doing. Maybe the foreground is just a little bit darker, but you can fix literally all of this by changing the tone of the immediate background to be, find a universal color. So I would say it's that kind of ashy gray tone. This is a terrible lasso, forgive me. But you need to do something that separates, maybe even if you bring in a new color, that separates the background. I'm actually going to bring in a sky blue that's really pastel to show some ashes maybe. And that color will create a separation between the foreground and the background. Sorry about my annoying ass brush, it's too visible. And so that's like one way. So now we have this universal color, this color right here, 7EB9AC, 7E, so, whoa, 9BAC, 7B9, 7E9BAC, okay? And that color introduced this kind of universal ashy, maybe sky presence, some kind of ambient sky color in with everything. And then I'm just going to quickly blend these edges of that sky layer so that the clouds or the smoke can still look like clouds. That solved, literally solved 80% of your problems. Okay? That was it. Without, with. And if you don't want it to be completely blue, you want to keep it dark at the top, that's okay. You're supposed to darken the top of the canvas anyway. We just need something to help us out in making sense of the illustration because you've packed everything in like sardines. Everything is in here competing with each other on the exact same tone, exact same contrast, and keyword, exact same edge sharpness. Ooh, that's bad. That's really bad. To mess with the edges, to mess with edges and sharpness around your focal point, around your object of interest, those are all really cardinal sins when it comes to illustrating. You need sharpness in and around your main character. Not everything can be on the same sharpness level. Maybe, yeah, the mask is the most rendered, so you got that, but where's the rest of it? Why is everything equally blurred? This is an example of overblending. It's ironic how this worked out. And this is an example of underblending. And you can see both of them in action in two completely different artists. If this is the same artist, that would be insane. I don't think they're the same artist though. And that's it for today. Thank you guys for hopping in. I appreciate you guys coming out to the live streams. It's always fun when we do it live so that we can see each other and talk to each other and feel like we're attending a real class. So go to istebrak.com and click on the subreddit icon right here to join the subreddit and submit your work. Some of these I found on the subreddit. Some of these, this one was on the subreddit and this one was on the Discord. I try to select from both to keep them both active. And if you want to join my Patreon, assignments for November will be handed out soon. You'll also be able to catch last month, October's Critique Hour. Lately, I have been allowing students to submit tailored homework that is not current with the subject. So if a student doesn't want to participate in the homework assignment, they can do homework that is specific for their skill struggle. So one of my students is doing figures while a bunch of others are doing environments, while a bunch of others are doing costume design. So you guys can help me help you by customizing your curriculum. It's $20 a month. And it's a little bit of accountability. So you have due dates, you have assignments you have to complete. But it's very relaxed. It doesn't feel like a heavy, class hanging, looming over you. It's there when you need it, and it supports the channel and helps me keep doing what I'm doing. Thank you all for coming today. My masterclass is on my store if you're interested in purchasing it. Everything you saw me teach today is there and more, and it's more than 2 hours. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys on Tuesday, the 11th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Bye, guys.